the last row, although in this case, the last row is probably not on the last page. It's a case of me taking the figures off for the wrong row.
Is that the case with 1113 as well?
1113,
That'd be the vending machines.
It's not a question.
yes, that's even worse. They hand type their own reporting schedules, and some of the times they don't add them up to the totals, and I will recheck them to make sure they're the same total. That was the case of the amount that I used, added up from their homemade totals, ended up being the undepreciated assets. They're not always clear when they report them, but if I took the time and called them and talked to all of them, I probably would avoid a lot of this, but I just don't have the time when you're dealing with a few hundred of these in one sitting.
Okay.
It's not as bad as the foreclosures where somebody could do 45 reviews and signing a day. It's not that kind of thing, but it is.
And then 1114,
Yeah, I'd like to know why.
that one seems like it might be a little different.
Yeah, that's $27,000 difference on property.
Overestimated the business coming in. This is one where I think last week you had one where this same site, the person was going out, went out of business, and we abated that one. This is the new business coming into the same site, and what it is overestimating the new owner's equipment.
So is the equipment that the new owner has in there now the same equipment that was left by the previous occupant, or is this an entirely different set of equipment? I just can't see.
An entirely different set of equipment, but it's not new. And I think in these beauty shops, I guess I take a look at these new shops as being new shops with new equipment, but in a lot of times, like this one, they buy used equipment. Some equipment is given to them, like hair dryers and things like that. It's
I can
almost
see that it's apples and oranges. If it isn't the same equipment.
Now,
then-
that
not.
begs another question, is did they file a report with us on what their equipment is worth?
They did not.
So, we made an assumption that they had X amount of dollars worth of business equipment because that's what the previous beauty shop had,
Yes.
right? So now that they've got a tax bill, they're saying, well, mine isn't worth that much money.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
Well, they're asking us
So
to
they
say,
so they failed to file a declaration of what they had,
right.
okay?
Did they fail to file, or they weren't in business at the time the filing took place?
Well, that's a touchy subject. They probably weren't in business. We may not have spotted who they were yet. It takes time sometimes to figure that the old business is gone and there's a new one in. Sometimes we don't even know the old business is gone. I mean, it's not a strict reporting system. They kind of tell us. Sometimes it's when the bill comes out, they'll say, well, geez, I closed my shop in July. Or when the bill comes out, they'll say, well,
Wouldn't
So it was
something,
there on
wouldn't some-
April 1st, it was there
wouldn't
on
some,
April
yeah,
1st.
wouldn't something trigger that, though? They would have to have the new owner would have to have a permit of occupancy. Doesn't that information get forwarded to your office?
not
To
in that
flag-
manner, no. We'd have to go out and seek it. In the spring of the year, we go out and look for all new information. In July is when you sit and try to take all of this information you got from the field and all other sources and try to put it into the Trio software. So you have to have like field time, review time, and data entry time. And sometimes there are blocks of time that
It would
you
seem,
can't be out in the field all
it
year
would
round.
seem as though, from an efficiency standpoint, that if an occupancy permit would issue on a piece of property, that your office would get a copy of that to at least flag that there's a new enterprise in there that you're going to have to look at.
The only thing we'll get is operating as a business. It's the one that the town clerk would issue.
So as we move forward to consolidating, planning, and assessing, and
It should,
That's certainly flagged as a piece we need to work on.
Well, could we make note of it so we don't forget it?
And I guess the question I have here is the information that you have on 1114, the difference is based on what the owner gave you? The information in an interview or,
Based on the interview.
yeah, okay. Now,
Next year, she will get what we call the orange form, or whatever color we're using, and she will be filing with us the entire list for the upcoming tax year.
do you have the authority to go over there and take a look at the equipment?
Yes.
So in some ways, look at the cost of you taking a trip halfway across town and spending a half hour looking at machinery and logging it, or an hour or whatever, and the cost to the taxpayers of $300 might behoove us to take when you have a difference this great, to take a look at it and say, you know, is this indeed, I mean, there's a major change here in value of equipment. It's only a third, a quarter.
$27,000
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, so
That's what jumped out
it's a
at me.
quarter of what the other equipment was. So I think I'd want to go over and take a look at it. You know, maybe straight on and say, okay, it's a,
Yeah, I just don't feel that 1114 is enough information to grant the abatement, but
So could,
Well, I think that probably is, because the $35,000 figure, as I understand it, was on equipment that was owned by the previous owner. And when that person vacated, that property left. So in essence, there is no property in there. But the new person, the new occupant came on board and brought their equipment in. And their equipment, and we were, because we didn't know that there'd been a change, we just used the last year's figure, the last ones that we had, and didn't know what the new one was. Am I correct so far?
No, I don't think so. The person in place that was there before that left,
Yeah?
they didn't have $35,000 worth. The assumption was made that this was going to be a new shop, a new setup, and therefore the equipment would be better grade than what was there before. What was there before was probably the same stuff.
So there was an arbitrary decision made that this stuff would be worth $35,000 because you got no report?
It's a tool, and it's only a tool. But if the board feels that they would rather not use that technique as a tool when we get non-reporting assets, then we will revert to what John is suggesting, that we go out and look at all of these.
Okay,
Personal property overall brings in 12 grand.
what tool is it that we have? It almost seems to me, and I don't want to be, pointing fingers, but it almost seems to me like we used a crystal ball and just said, okay, it's going to be $35,000 because that's what new equipment would cost, but we don't know if she had 2 hair dryers or 10 hair dryers.
True.
So I think it would make a difference to us if she had 10 versus 2, and it just seems so arbitrary that,
Well, I think Jerry's right. I mean, I kind of raised this issue because I just felt that there was some well, I think you've answered my question. Well, did the parties scream after the fact and say, no, you didn't depreciate? We used the wrong, in some instances with Coca-Cola in the bank, we used the wrong column, then that's one thing, okay? My concern, and I would agree with Jerry, I mean, on an annual basis, we have to do that business thing in the business that my wife owns, and the assessor in the town of Scarborough has never stepped foot in a building. So it's all relative to what you are, a trust and what you're claiming, right? So you know,
But if
there is a piece of that, okay, tell us what you've got, right? And, you know,
If your equipment devaluated to a quarter the value of the year before, might you see the assessor in your business then?
no, because I think what happens is, to Jerry's point, if I zero something out or take it down below 30%, I think the adjustment that the assessor says is still going to charge you 30% for that asset.
But here's my point. Suppose that you had entered your business over there and never filled out the form. So
Right.
the assessor doesn't know what you
Sooner or
have.
later, he's going to come.
Yeah, but, and then you get a tax bill that is based on all this new equipment. You go, wow, wait a minute, I don't even have half the stuff here that he says. I mean, isn't that sort of a really arbitrary way of doing
It
it?
Well,
kind of
but-
seems like what the issue is here is you have a new business. The business did not report what their equipment was, so there was an estimation made of what the equipment would be for this type of facility, and it was an overestimate because that's not the equipment that she had. So maybe moving from here on out, what we need to do is when we have a business that does not report, the assessor needs to, instead of maybe making an estimate, send a reminder letter that they need to file this form, and then if they don't, we go knock on their door, rather than just kind of guesstimating, I guess, what the value of the property would be.
Which would have been taken care of had the occupancy notification been forwarded, then he would have had the heads up on it, so.
I only venture a guess, but there's probably 60% of all the businesses in town that don't even report that they get personal.
We don't have them all. We have the ones that are obvious because they're set up in the villages,
Yep.
but a lot of them are working off the kitchen table and we don't have a clue.
I think that it just,
But they're not sent a tax bill either.
Well, no, we don't know where they are.
and I think that just highlights that communication piece that we were just talking about with the
Right.
Finance Committee, and hopefully pulling the planning board and assessing together is going to improve that communication, maybe help us avoid this again in the future.
It would improve.
Then Dennis, I think you raised
Yeah,
a
I
question
get
about
the
one
only other one that I had was 11.9, Jerry, which I think we went through already in one instance where I understand the property all over the municipality is being, new appraisals are not what we had it appraised at in 2007, right? If we're debiting this down based on an appraisal today, my question is, was it in fact appraised correctly in 2007 versus where we are today? I understand that the market has changed, but if the market has changed and we start going down that slippery slope, where anybody that comes in and says, well, I have a new appraisal, and we adjust that to a 2010 appraisal, then we need to treat the whole town like that. And all that's going to do, just so everybody knows, when you reduce, if we did an across-the-board reduction in valuation, tax rate goes to $12 and something because the valuation came down, right? So, it's not a, so anybody that we react to now and say, okay, we would agree that we're going to reduce your valuation because we're in these hard economic times, right? They're getting a bonus that no other taxpayer in the town is getting because we're still holding everybody else accountable to a 2007 appraisal. Now, I'm not sure that that's the case in this particular instance, and I guess that goes back to, was the property worth $24,500 in 2007's appraisal? Was it overappraised, or was it reasonable and
Well,
the
before,
market?
before I answer that, the question of people coming in and bringing in their appraisals,
Yep.
we're getting a lot of those,
Oh, I'm
more than
sure
we
we are.
already have been getting.
We're getting TV coverage on that
Yep.
kind of information, so.
I review all of them and send a letter,
Yep.
every one of them. So that's time that I think is the kind of time that I should devote to that particular exercise. I will review everybody's appraisal, and within 10, 15 days, I'll send them a letter saying I've reviewed it, this is what I come up with. refinance appraisals usually are below the value all the time. And that's because the bank or the financing institution is not going to give you top dollar when you come in to borrow, because it's going to be based on your credit score, it's going to be based on the mortgage, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what happens to that one. So the slippery slope is, yes, bring me what you have, I will review it. If there's any truth to it and we made a mistake or an error or an overvaluation, we'll address it. But that's how we're handling that. In this case, it's the case of somebody who has property in Lake Arrowhead, and a boat ride away is an island. It's wooded, it's been vacant, nobody uses it, including the party. She's trying to sell her property. The island is on a separate appraisal, a separate assessment. In the revaluation, these kinds of things probably were not noticed. $25,000 on an island at a $10 rate, but it doesn't pop up. I think now people are looking at these particular items and say, wait a minute, I'm going to have somebody look at this thing and say, you know, is that worth $25,000? And that's what we're getting.
Right.
The range I got from that one was anywhere from 1,000 to 15.
So I think what you just said is that the 24.5 we had on it when we appraised it in the reval was probably, it was overappraised.
But we didn't know.
I understand.
Because the market is...
Understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now what's going to be noticeable are going to be, and I think I'm getting a whiff of this, is that there are going to be some wet lots that are really unusable and totally useless. And they're going to, and you look at the value on those things, and they're going to say, well, geez, they got $25,000 on a wet lot, and I can't walk across it. Maybe I'll go down and... So we're getting some of that. It's focusing on the those items that we, in the revaluation, were not before. That's really the answer.
And Jerry, just to go back to what you were talking about with people coming in with the bank financing and whatnot, this one particular letter that you gave me, where banks that are doing the comps aren't always doing the comps on properties that are within the town, and so the home value of a home that's in Waterborough compared to a similar home in, say, Lebanon is not going to be the same. So you're seeing some of that as well, where they're not comparing apples and apples. So I think, just wanted to mention that too.
Yeah.
As folks are getting their appraisals done, they need to make sure that the comparisons are being done with properties that are within our own town.
Yes, in fact, sometimes I'll get one, they do 3 comps, which is usually the rule, and 2 are outside of town, 1's in Waterborough. There's not much I can review there, and so I have a letter that goes out that kind of tries to explain that to the taxpayer.
Any other questions on the abatements? All right. And so what would the board like to do with the abatements?
I'd move we approve 11.8 through 11.14 as recommended by the assessing agent.
Is there a second?
Seconds?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yep. I'll stay for the contract.
Okay. So that Jerry can get out of here,
I'd move
Because-
that we
I
move
don't
all,
have to be home by 9.
you're not watching Dancing with the Stars tonight?
I'd move that we move item 1 of old business up to
Next.
next.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right.
I'm going to abstain, and I'm going to abstain from the discussion and so forth, because I work for this person. I don't work for her specifically, but I do work for her office.
Okay. All right, so before us, we have a contract between the town of Waterborough and Susan Swede. This is a means of collections on some personal property taxes that are in arrears. Some of them are quite significant. This we've discussed with Jerry 2-3 times. He did some work on options that were available to us. Ms. Swede offered the best value, so to speak, and we have in our packets the proposed agreement. What is the What would the board like to do with this?
I move that we engage into the contract that is presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Easy enough?
Thanks, Jerry.
I'll talk to Susan and we'll prepare the final documentation.
Okay, great. Thank you. Should we yell at Gordon? It's safe for him to come back.
Yeah. Let's see if I can rip this. Well, I'm not going in there after him. I will walk out into the hall.
All right.
Yeah, we still have 3 of us. And then there were none.
I just want the record to know that Gordon really does have a conflict, he just had to go with that.
Okay, next, back under new business, discuss Selectmen CIP plans. Last week, I sent along the CIP forms to be filled out. The CIP plans are due on October 22nd. Department heads have had a couple of meetings on CIPs. Tom, have you seen CIPs back from anybody yet?
I'm told by one department head that he's close to completing them.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that the Board of Selectmen will set the model for early delivery of any CIP projects, given that there's only 17 days left to the deadline.
You must be jesting.
On 17 days? No, that's real.
What do you
So-
mean, set example? Come on.
Well, a model, you're going to model to the rest of the departments by early delivery of your proposed project.
Yeah.
So has anybody on the board given any consideration to CIP projects that you'd like to see?
Couple that I'm looking at.
Gordon?
You want them announced now or wait until I submit the forms?
When are you going to have the forms to submit?
If I've got the forms, I'm in the process of filling them out, and they'll be ready for the 22nd.
Okay, so could we, does anybody else have anything
Well, I'd
kind
like
of
to,
on
I think,
teed up?
I'd like to see us gather the department heads and us together before that, because what I want to make sure is that things like a new furnace, say we put that into next year's plan, we need to make sure that that's being submitted by Matt and not us. Whether there's something that's happening to this building that Mike might have teed up. I think we just need to sort through those kind of things, or what David may have being ready to be submitted. So that's only my reaction.
Yeah, I think we need to do this together, rather than individual.
Tom's itching over.
Yeah, I know he is. My hope was that we would all, the 5 of us would have ideas, that the 5 of us could work out what we would, I mean, we shouldn't be individually submitting them, but as a board, we need to talk about, if Gordon's got a couple of ideas, bringing it to the board and hashing it out, and yes, the board wants to do this, no, we don't,
Yeah.
and see if anybody else has.
But I mean, if we come together and we, I think within a half hour, we come in with ideas and we sit down within a half hour, I think we have a plan.
I have no problem letting you know what they are then. One is the establishment of a dog park in town, because that's been something.
That's already done, The Waterborough Land Trust, the property that is owned on Federal Street, there's a dog park, they've cleared the woodland, there's a fence that's going to be going up and should be functional by fall with a grand opening in the spring.
I would draw that idea. I wasn't even aware of that,
But,
because I was looking at properties that had no value to the town and to Lake Arrowhead. That whole section in there was, I was looking at, but that's fine too. The other item was to improve the security here at the municipal building. with some type of proximity card system that we can change on our own, the coding, so that we don't incur costs of changing lock sets and having new keys made and worrying about, the key control and so forth, that it would certainly be far more efficient, and we would couple that with the identification badges for all the employees and committee members and so forth.
And I know my thoughts was to get the mapping for the GIS system. We've explored grants, and that just isn't really happening. And potentially looking at something that could be a shovel-ready project. So if there's federal grant monies that come available, we've got something on the burner that we could move forward. Tom?
The last one that the chair has mentioned is a particularly vital approach if you want to look for future investments. There's, without doubt, there's going to be some significant federal monies available to communities that are prepared and knowledgeable with very surgical, precise projects that have been cost estimated. In order for our small town to be competitive, we will have needed to have done our research, our estimating, and determined what priority projects the Board of Selectmen and the administration would like to tackle. In the absence of that, it would be difficult for me to be able to both lobby, research, write, and secure federal monies for projects of significant dollars. By significant, 500,000 and upward. Preparation's critical, and in a small community with a small staff, we need to be prepared. So this is traditionally an approach that people take in capital improvement planning. In fact, another thing, as John looked at the charter provisions for Finance Committee, I think we may need to look again, or the new Charter Commission may need to look at Section 907 capital program because of the way it's currently worded. Many of the approaches are now capital investment planning. There is reference here to just a general capital program, which the connotation was capital improvements. But there is a slight difference between improvements and investments. The last thing that the chair suggested in terms of having shovel-ready projects is viewed as a capital investment project. You invest a small amount of dollars to secure a larger, greater amount to make huge improvements in the community. And as your town planner, I would highly recommend that we look in that direction so we can be prepared. The large sums that from people on Capitol Hill that I've talked with are going to be in the categories coming from FEMA and coming under the broad category of infrastructure. Those won't flush out until after the November elections. So let's see. It's the board's decision, and but it's certainly an important one.
I think that the point is that there are a whole bunch of things that we ought to be at least brainstorming and discussing, and I would rather do that with the department heads than without them, because I don't see the, we don't, we shouldn't, the board shouldn't have capital plans, right? It all goes back to the department somewhere, right?
Ultimately.
Unless it's an overall global, capital project for the municipality that embraces more than one department, right?
Correct.
So I'd like to see us all get together with the department heads. I think it would be a good exercise and determine what is it that, there's those things that we can't afford, those things that we can afford, those things that we ought to have some investment in.
If I may make a,
prioritizing them and putting a timeline on them.
if I may, speaking of timelines, thank you for the segue. If I may suggest, if you follow Dennis's recommendation to pull the staff together, that we do it soon. From my perspective, it'd be great before week's end, at an absolute maximum, before next weekend's, because the week after that, the directive from the town administrator is to have all the CIPs done to deliver back to the Board of Selectmen. So when I receive them from all the department heads, I go through them. If there's any weaknesses structurally or a lack of estimates, a CIP doesn't hold much value if it doesn't have estimates in it, and sometimes they're absent estimates or quotations. So, at the board's pleasure, if you would like to pull the staff together, then, when Nancy returns, I'm sure she could draw them together at a moment's notice. It's just more your convenience as to when you'll be compatible with the board.
What about Monday night? What about Monday night,
Monday night? Yep.
David?
I can't, I don't think, but I can't give you an answer right now.
Second Monday, is that
The 11th?
Transfer Station Committee?
No.
It is Finance Committee meeting, though.
Well, Monday's a holiday, don't forget.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, it's Columbus Day.
How about Wednesday?
Wednesday the 13th, we,
Or we do it, have a workshop next.
Wednesday could present some difficulties because it appears that the planning board has canceled their meeting for tomorrow night and anticipates rescheduling it for next Wednesday night.
So let's do,
the 14th?
We can do it next Tuesday night after our regular meeting.
I don't think it really is a real quick,
Could be before your meeting.
you can facilitate it anyway. It should be, bring everybody, bring the ideas, right? Let's just throw them down and then say, okay, these are the ones that are gonna make the cut, and move on.
Exactly. Could do it before your meeting if that will work for the board.
David, what time do you get into town on Tuesdays?
As a rule, 4 o'clock.
Dennis?
Yeah,
Could we do 5 o'clock? Give us an hour?
Yeah, as long as I can plan on it, I think I can be here.
5 o'clock, all right with you next Tuesday?
5's good with me.
John, next Tuesday,
5
5?
o'clock. 5 o'clock's fine.
Okay, Yep. Pam, could you get a notice out to all the department heads first thing in the morning? Next Tuesday night, 5 o'clock, CIP workshop?
As a mandatory meeting, correct.
Yes. Okay. Anything else?
Thanks for your patience there, bud.
Thank you, board.
Number 6, under new business, discuss town administrator recommendations for agenda items. When we put this on the agenda, we were under the understanding that Nancy was going to be here tonight. With her not being here, I'm wondering if this would be better tabled until next week when she is here. I think she needs to be part of that discussion.
Works for me?
All right, so we'll table that to next week. We've taken care of old business. Other, need a motion to sign the warrants for bills and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? And we have the minutes from 9:28.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, under pending decisions, we have the medical marijuana ordinance. Pam, could you just send something to the planning board, just asking for an update on where they are with that? We need to make sure we keep that on our radar and theirs. With the transfer station project, which we'll be talking about next week, and public service announcement commercials.
You mentioned the pace.
That's not on the agenda, that's done. We resolved that last week,
Yeah, just go independent.
so that needs to go. All right, for action this week, we'll take care of between Patty and I, we'll get the letter to Little Ossipee Lake Association taken care of. Fred's going to get together some better figures on the winter sand. John's going to do some more work on the Finance Committee procedures. We'll meet on the CIPs next Tuesday night at 5 o'clock, and we're going to table the admin's piece. Jerry's taking care of contacting Susan Swede and getting that underway. Discussion of agenda items for next week. So far, we have the ACO coming in next week for an appointment. The transfer station compactor project, the sand purchase. We need to define our committee assignments. We talked about, we needed to decide who was going to formalize who was going to do what for committees. And we should have our final goals to vote on from Tom next week as well. We had York County Community Action had sent us a letter 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they wanted to come in and talk to the board about what they offer the community, their budget in the upcoming year and whatnot. So, Pam, could you touch base with them and see if we could get them in the next couple of weeks? Anything else?
We batted around last week, should we have a local candidates night? It would include positions, local Senate race, maybe the county. I'm not sure that we're running out of runway now to do that, but
I thought it was kind of like we said,
a
We weren't.
little too late.
yep.
There's the 12-town group is chairing a candidates night on the 18th of October at the Sanford Town Hall, I believe at 6 o'clock.
Is
So-
that going to be,
I do with that.
maybe we killed two birds in one stone here. Is that,
You'll probably video
tell
that?
them, well, that's what I'm saying, is that something that we could either get a live feed from, or,
They're Metrocast.
yeah, but David, I would presume that we could work something, couldn't we?
A live feed from there to our system.
Or do we have to do it from a video, or from a recording?
It's probably going to be from recording, but we'll find out. That's from York County.
Well, it's going to be through Sanford, right?
At 6:30, it's
Yep.
going to be at Sanford Town Hall.
And I would assume that's taken in all of the
House and
the
Senate.
House and Senate seats.
They're saying that there's going to be 20-plus candidates.
You're invited, I would presume? Okay, so,
If we can get a copy of that, we can rebroadcast it.
okay, so,
We'll tie it together.
all right, so we ought to...
They should have a tape, huh?
At a minimum, we need to look at getting a copy of that so that we can play that locally, even if it's somewhat edited to the point where I'm not sure people from Waterborough want to listen to who's running up in Newfield or in Buxton, but
At least, get
we might be able to condense that and take some stuff out of context and, all of that good stuff.
I can give John Sylvester a call tomorrow and find out about getting copies of that.
Yeah, we got a tape on that.
Okay. Anything else for next week? All right. Items needing signature, warrants for bills and payroll, the minutes for 2/28, the MMA voting delegates credential form, which we voted last week on. We won't have any appointment papers to sign. We're going to get Tim to come in for an appointment, and we have some abatements to sign. Reminders, Wednesday, October 6th at 6 PM, the 2020 Comprehensive Plan Update is meeting at Central Station. I have on here, the planning board's supposed to meet tomorrow night. I understand from what Tom said that that's been canceled.
It's been moved to the following week.
Okay. Thursday, October 7th at 4 PM is the Economic Development Committee here at Town Hall Annex. Thursday, October 7th at 7 PM is the Historical Society at the Waterborough Grange Hall, the presentation on the villages of Waterborough. Saturday, October 9th at 8:30, Cribbage Tournament. Monday, October 11th at 7 PM is the Finance Committee, the Parks and Rec Committee, and the Cemetery Committee. Tuesday, October 12th at 5 PM will be a workshop on CIP with department heads, followed by the Selectmen's meeting at 6 PM, and reporting that week will be the Road Review Committee and the Road Commissioner, and the Road Review Committee is meeting next Wednesday night at 6 PM.
Sorry, Madam Chair. What time is the Economic Development Committee meeting?
It's at 4 o'clock.
At 4.
Yep. Anything else? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor?